Okay, welcome to today's video. We're going to look at taking a radical and raising it to a power. Okay, as you can see here, we got 4 examples that we're going to look at, and then that'll be it for this video. It should be pretty short and sweet. All right, so for this first one, I want to take the square root of 2 and raise it to the second power. So I want to take the square root of 2 and square it. Well, for this first example, let's write down what that really means. So that really means the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, which we said yesterday, if we take the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, it's just whatever's underneath that radical, it's just 2. So basically, kind of an easy way to think of it is, if I take a square root and I square it, basically the square root and the square root cancel each other out. It's like doing the opposite. So like if we were solving for x and we had 3x, to get rid of the 3, we divide it by 3. It's the opposite. Okay. Now for this next one, I'm raising something to the third power. So it's going to be the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 times the square root of 2. Well, that's this first square root of 2 times square root of 2 is just 2 times that square root of 2 that I have left over because I didn't do anything to it yet. And that's as far as I can go. It's as simplified as I can make it. Okay, alright, on this next example, now I've got multiple things that I'm squaring. I've got 2 times the square root of 5. So I can't forget, I've got to take this square root, and you're almost distributing it. I've got to take and do the square root of 2 and the square root of 5. Okay, I can't forget, I can't just do it on one or the other. I have to do both. Alright, so if I do 2 squared, that gives me 4 times the square root of 5 squared, we said was just 5. So 4 times 5 is 20. Okay, that's it for that one. Finally, on this last example, again, I've got multiple things that I'm squaring here. So I've got this that I need to square. I've got the square root that I need to square. And then I've got another term that I'm multiplying, but I've also got multiple squares going on here. I've got to square that and the radical. Okay, so it looks like a complicated problem, but there's really not a whole lot to it. Okay, so for that very first one, I'll just write underneath it here. So 2 squared is going to give me 4 times, well, that square root of 3x cubed y squared, the squared and the square root cancel out. So I'm basically just left with 3x to the third power times y times, now let's look at our other set of parentheses. I'm going to take that squared and multiply it by, and take this 5x and square it first. So 5x, the whole thing squared, is going to give me 25x squared times, I can multiply that by anything on the inside. Okay, so now I'm going to take that square root of 6x to the 5th y cubed and square it, which basically the squared and the square root cancel each other out. So I'm going to be left with 6x to the 5th times y to the 3rd. Well, I can go ahead and simplify everything. Now I don't have any square roots. I can multiply everything together. So that's going to equal, I'll multiply my numbers. So 4 times 3 is 12. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's multiply it a little bit easier here. I can do 4 times 25. That's 100. 100 times 3 is 300. 300 times 6 is 1800. And then now let's look at our x. I've got x to the 3rd times x squared, so it's x to the 5th, so x to the 10th. And then finally my y's, I've got a y times y to the 3rd, which is y to the 4th. And there you go. That's it. That's your final answer. Alright, if you've got any questions, make sure that you ask in class tomorrow. Thanks and have a great night.